What if the United States invaded Greenland? In April 2025, just months after he was re-elected into office, President of the United States Donald J. Trump sends an ultimatum to Denmark, demanding the handover of Greenland by May 1, 2025. Prime Minister of Denmark Mette Frederiksen refused his terms outright, saying Denmark will do its utmost to defend Greenland from American imperialism. Other European leaders including German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen and especially President of France Emmanuel Macron voiced their support for Denmark. On May 1, American Marines launched their invasion of Greenland with the Army of the North landing in Upernavik, the Army of the Center in Sisimiut, and the Army of the South landing near the capital Nuuk. While the first two invasions achieved their targets pretty quickly, the invasion of the South was defeated by a multi-nation coalition consisting of Frenchmen, Brits, Germans, Italians, Spaniards, Poles and so many more. Less than a century after these countries were at war with each other, they now stood united to protect one of their own. As a gesture of solidarity, Denmark even won Eurovision similar to Ukraine 3 years earlier. Donald Trump meanwhile did not back down and said that even if the entire world was at war with the United States, he'll still not give up on Greenland. Inside the United States, Democrats would try to sabotage the war effort wherever they could, but with the Republican Party holding a majority in both chambers of Congress, there is little they can do. During the 2025 NATO summit in the Netherlands, the military alliance was officially disbanded. Meanwhile, fighting continued along the west coast of Greenland with little progress on either side. Both sides send more troops to Greenland than there are people living in Greenland. Americans tried and failed multiple times to take Nuuk, and the city earned the name America's Stalingrad. The Greenland War would also be referred to as a Second Winter War, largely thanks to Greenlandish guerrilla actions. During the winter months an unofficial truce settled in as the region was too cold to fight in. In Europe in the following years many incumbent governments got a popularity boost, and especially Eurosceptic got a dent in their numbers. For example, in Czechia, the Spolu alliance narrowed their gap with ANO and Petu Fila remained in charge. The war would cause a breakdown of trade between Europe and the United States leading to the recession of 2025. In 2026 this trend continued. In Denmark, Frederiksen's Social Democrats won big and formed a coalition with the Green Left. In Hungary, Fidesz's 16 years rule was ended by Tisza, and Peter Magyar became prime minister. In Latvia, Slovenia, and Sweden pro-European parties would also see success. During the war, Emmanuel Macron was able to successfully push for a unified European army to better coordinate their troops. With that, he positioned himself further as the de facto leader of Europe. While the incumbent party saw victories in Europe, the same couldn't be said about the United States. Hoping to rally the people just before the midterms, Trump ordered a massive offensive across the entire front with the so far largest attack on Nuuk. Despite of high casualties, they made only modest gains and failed in their objectives, including the capture of Nuuk. It is said by children that the blood lost by soldiers made the snow look like strawberry ice cream. This only made the war effort more unpopular, and Democrats positioning themselves as bringing an end to the senseless slaughter won both chambers of Congress. In the House of Representatives, Democrats won 237 seats compared to the Republican 198. Thanks to redistricting in these states, they even won a district in Utah and Arkansas. Against all odds, Democrats also won the Senate with 51 seats against the Republican 48 seats. In North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper defeated incumbent Thom Tillis. In Maine, Governor Janet Mills easily defeated Austin Terrio, who defeated Susan Collins in the Republican primary. In Iowa and Ohio, Democratic Abby Finkenauer and Tim Ryan narrowly defeated Joni Ernst and John Husted. Lastly, in Nebraska, Union leader Dan Osborne, who made a name for himself in 2024 when he narrowly lost to Deb Fischer, would run again and defeat Republican Pete Ricketts. This was catastrophic for Trump, and starting in January, both Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Speaker of the House Hakeem Jeffries refused any support for the war effort, and on the ground Europeans started to gain ground. With that, it was clear that the war wouldn't be won anymore, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with European leaders and representatives in Geneva to sign a peace treaty. In the Treaty of Geneva, the United States respects the territorial integrity of Greenland and Denmark in accordance with the will of the people. Greenlandish waters have to be open to American ships and cannot deny entry to American ships. No side would be forced to pay war reparations to each other. Internally, Greenland gets to hold a referendum whether they want to be independent, remain a part of Denmark, or join the United States. In case they vote for independence, Greenland can join the European Union right away, if a majority of its population wish so, while if they join the United States, they can hold a referendum whether to be a territory or a state. With that, the Greenland War would come to an end. Greenland would vote overwhelmingly to become independent and then again to join the European Union. In terms of foreign policy, the United States would pull out completely out of Europe, and Trump would call the continent an old man just days away from dying. In Europe, the idea of European integration gained rapid support. On June 1, Bulgaria would join the Eurozone, and after the war, Denmark finally gave up on its defiance and joined the Eurozone on January 1, 2026. Greenland would be a part of the Eurozone as well. By 2027, Sweden and the Czech Republic became the newest members of the Eurozone, meaning only Romania, Poland, and Hungary were left out. In the following 6 years, they too would be integrated into the euro. On the 1st November 2033, the 40th anniversary of the European Union, the Treaty of Copenhagen is signed, officially uniting the European Union into a single united country under a federal system similar to the United States or Germany. Its capital is in Brussels, and it is a great power on the global stage, with a popular greater than the United States, an economy rivaling China, and a stronger armed force than Russia. The road to accession is still open to other countries who might still join, like for example Montenegro, Albania, or Ukraine. Speaking of Ukraine, during the Greenland War, the West wasn't able to provide all that much support to Ukraine, and Russia exploited this. They launched many costly offensives that pushed the Ukrainians further and further back. Their casualties rose massively, with Russian total casualties since 2022 exceeding 1 million, maybe even 1.5 million. In 2027 or 2028, the European Union, Moldova, Ukraine, and Russia signed a peace agreement in Ankara. In it, Russia kept the oblasts of Crimea, Sevastopol, Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Mykolaiv, and Odessa, or also known as Novorossiya. Ukraine was forced to agree to these terms, but was afterwards allowed into a defensive pact with the European Union. During the war, Transnistria joined Russia, and Moldova was forced to recognize that, but again, they were then allowed into a defensive pact with the European Union. After the fall of NATO, many smaller alliances began to pop up. The European Union formed defensive alliances with its European allies, including Albania, Montenegro, Macedonia, and later Ukraine and Moldova, mainly against Russia. The fear of Russia only grew when Lukashenko died and Russia annexed Belarus, and Putin's death didn't result in Russia turning to liberalism, but simply to a change of the man in charge. The United Kingdom and Canada foster their ties to Australia and New Zealand, or just Kanzuk, with both the EU and USA quarantining them against each other. Turkey would decide to seek its own foreign policy with its allies like Azerbaijan, Northern Cyprus, or Libya. Lastly, the United States focused its attention to the Asia-Pacific region. During the Greenland War, China launched an invasion of Taiwan, and even though America was already fighting in Greenland, Trump ordered reinforcements to Taiwan, even sending forces from Greenland. And unlike Greenland, he has bipartisan support for this. Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, and India also have Taiwan's back, and in the end a peace agreement is signed in Singapore. Taiwan retains its sovereignty, but China keeps the Penghu, Kinmen, Matsu, and Wukui archipelagos. Taiwan would then formally declare its independence as the Republic of Taiwan. Even though China failed in its objectives, they became stronger nonetheless, partly due to the recession of 2025, which didn't really affect them at all. In 2028, Democrat Josh Shapiro and Jon Ossoff would defeat J.D. Vance and Doug Burgum and carry all 7 swing states. Even though tensions with Europe cooled down under him, Europe is still wary of the United States, fearing a second Donald Trump, and thus NATO is not reinstated. Beginning in the 30s, a quadrupolar world order would begin between the United States of America, European Union, People's Republic of China, and Russian Federation, with all vying to be the sole great power. In this timeline, the American invasion of Greenland only led to European integration, culminating in the unification of Europe and the humiliation of the U.S. Russia and China would use this time to grow themselves, and the American hegemony over the world is broken and replaced with a quadrupolar world order. If you liked the episode, leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye.